Hello, 6B. How are you guys? I hope you're all doing great. I hope you did well in your quiz. And I think the quiz was very, very easy, but it just wanted someone who really studied and memorized the things that I told you to memorize. So we will be discussing this in the next session. What are we going to do in today's session? We are going to learn about a new concept in the acid and alkalis lesson. And it is a very easy one actually, and we tried to explain it yesterday, but the internet connection wasn't that good, so we are going to do it together today. So yesterday I was talking to you about a new concept of acids and alkalis. We said we knew what are acids and alkalis, and we learned about where can we find acids and alkalis. We learned about the scientists who tried to find an easy way to identify acids and alkalis, and this is where the concept of an indicator came from. And indicators are dyes mainly coming from plants which change their colors according to whether they react with acids or alkalis. So this was after that, and after this we tried talking about something called the pH scale. And the pH scale is a scale which is showing us how strong or weak an acid or an alkali is according to a specific number that we call the pH number. And we said that it ranges from 0 to 14, from 0 to 6. The pH, if it's from 0 to 6, it represents acids. If it's from 8 to 14, it represents alkalis. If it's 7, it's neither acids nor alkalis. It is a neutral solution. And we talked about the device that we use, which is the pH meter, that will make us know what is the pH of the chemical in front of us. And that was it. We talked about the acids and alkalis in general, and we learned about them. Now, we want to know how can we, or what will happen if we added acids and alkalis to each other. What if I tried to make an acid react with an alkali? What will happen? It's actually very interesting that you can actually produce a neutral solution or a neutral product which is not an acid and it's not an alkali by adding both acids and alkalis together. It's like they are canceling each other. When you add them to each other, it's like they are canceling each other, and the product will not be an acid nor an alkali. Okay, and this is what the neutralization, this process is called the neutralization process. It is the reaction between an acid and an alkali in order to produce a neutral product. And this is why it's called neutralization, because when you add an acid to an alkali, you are actually producing a neutral product. Okay, so when the acids and alkalis react with each other, they make a process called the neutralization process. So the neutralization reaction equation, if I want to translate what I just said and all of this explanation by a simple equation, since we are in chemistry, everything will be translated into a simple chemical equation. So the neutralization will be, before the arrow, we write the things that are reacting with each other. And this is why we call everything before the arrow reactants, because they react with each other. So what is the process that we're talking about? We are talking about neutralization, which is the reaction between acids and alkalis. So what are reacting with each other? What are the reactants? The reactants are acids and alkalis, okay? Now, when I add acid and alkali to each other, what will they produce? This is what we write after the arrow. This is what we write after the arrow, and this is why we call all the products after the arrow products, okay? So before the arrow, all the chemicals are reactants. After the arrow, all the chemicals are products, okay? So the neutralization reaction equation, the first, what are the two things that are reacting with each other? Acids and alkalis. What are they going to produce? They are going to produce two neutral products. The products that will come out of this reaction, both are neutral. What does that mean? It means that if we measured their pH will be 7. Even if the reactants are acids and alkalis, but eventually they produced a neutral product. What are those neutral products? The neutral products are salt and water. The neutral products are salt and water. Both of them are neutral products, okay? Now I don't want only to like write the equation. This is like a general equation. I did not specify what is the acid and what is the alkalis and what will be the product, the salt product. I want to more examples and more explanation. I want you to specify some acids and alkalis. Give me some real examples. Okay, let's do this together. So let's try adding hydrochloric acid or reacting hydrochloric acid with sodium hydroxide. Okay, hydrochloric acid with sodium hydroxide. Hydrochloric acid is an acid and sodium hydroxide is of course an alkali. So when both of them will react together, they are going to produce a salt, and this salt will be sodium chloride. Sodium chloride. Now, and of course it will produce water too. Now, wait a minute, miss. I'm a little bit confused. Should I memorize this? Of course, you can memorize this, or you can use another way that will help you find out what is the salt that will be coming out or that will be produced from the reaction between acids and alkalis. Okay, so how do I do this? Okay, let's try with another example first. So here in the example, I have sulfuric acid with what? With the reaction of potassium hydroxide. What do you think the name of the salt will be? Let's do it together, guys. Okay, right here, I have sulfuric acid. So I'm going to circle the word sulfuric, okay? Sulfuric acid, this is the word that I'm going to circle. And right here, I don't care about the word acid, okay? And right here, I don't care about the word hydroxide. Hydroxide represents all the alkalis. So I don't really care about the word hydroxide. I really care about the word potassium, okay? So if I want to know what is the name of the salt that will come out of this reaction, I will start first by writing the name that I circled in the alkali. I will start with the name that I circled in the alkali, not the acid. I will start with the alkali. So this means that the salt will start with the word potassium. And then I am going to add the second part, which is the acid part, which is the sulfuric. But I'm not going to add it as sulfuric. Forget about the the IC at the end. Okay, it's like it doesn't exist. Sulfuric comes from the word sulfate. Let me write it. Okay, now let's see what is the name of the salt. Sorry. Okay, let's see together what will be the name of the salt. Potassium sulfate. Look at this, it's magic. It's magic. The only tricky part is how will I change the name of the acid to the actual name of the part that I should write in the salt, and this will be you will get used to by doing a lot of examples. So don't worry about this. By the end of the lesson, you will be able to find it easy. Okay, so potassium sulfate, of course, plus water. So any reaction between any acid and alkali, it will form or will produce a salt and water, and both of them are neutral products. Okay, now let's try the same method that I used with you in this example, in the first example, to see whether it's going to be sodium chloride or not. So again, I don't care about the word hydroxide, I care about the word sodium. And here I don't care about the word acid, and I don't really care about the hydro and the IC at the end. I really care about the chlor. So this means that it's going to be sodium chloride. How will I know? Again, I don't want you to worry about it. By the training, you will find yourself knowing how to write the name of the salts. Until then, I want you to memorize it also, okay? It's very important to memorize it. I know it's a little bit hard, but it's going to get easier by time, okay? Now, this is another example. I have nitric acid plus sodium hydroxide. Now, let's try the same method again. I don't care about the word hydroxide. I don't care about the word hydroxide. Okay, I care about the word sodium. This is what I'm going to start my salt with. And what about this nitric acid? I don't care about the word acid, and I really don't care about the IC at the end. So what is the name of this? What is the name that I'm going to take from the acid? The nitrate. The name is nitrate. Okay, so nitric acid plus sodium hydroxide, it will give me what? If we use this way, sodium nitrate. Let's see if the answer is correct. Wow, sodium nitrate and what? And water, of course. Let's see. Okay, so you have to memorize simply this table in order to find out what will be the acidic name in the salt. The second part of the salt's name is always the acidic part, the part that I brought from the acid. Okay, so if it's hydrochloric acid, the second part of the salt name will be chloride. If I used sulfuric acid in the reaction, the second part of the salt's name will be sulfate. If I used nitric acid in the salt, the second name will be, in the acid, the second name in the salt will be nitrate. So if it's hydrochloric acid, the second part of the salt will be chloride. If it's sulfuric acid, the second part of the salt's name will be sulfate. If it's nitric acid, the second part of the salt's name will be nitrate. So, of course, again, by time, you will find it really easy, okay? The alkaline part is really easy. You just have to forget about the word hydroxide and write the word sodium, okay? Or the first word that is next to hydroxide. Now let's do some classwork. I want you to open page. I want you to open page 36 in your resource pack. I want you to open page 36 in your resource pack. We are going to answer it together, okay? Let's forget about this slide. We're going to get back to it again. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, this is page 36, question number 10. Okay, here they said write the word equation for the reaction between hydrochloric acid and potassium hydroxide. Okay, write the word equation for the reaction between hydrochloric acid and potassium hydroxide. So we're going to do the same. Okay, first we are going to write the reactants. The reactants are already written in the question. They want us to write the reaction between hydrochloric acid and potassium hydroxide. So I'm going to write hydrochloric acid. I'm going to do the first one with you, and then I will leave you like 4 minutes. I want you to pause the video in those 4 minutes. Try answering the rest of the questions by yourself, and then come back to find out if your answers are correct or not. Okay, so it's hydrochloric acid plus potassium hydroxide. Okay, hydrochloric acid plus potassium hydroxide. All right, so what will I do? I will make an arrow. You know, we don't use equals, we use arrows. Okay, what will be the products? We for sure know that one of the products is water. What about the salt? We will do it the same way that I told you to use. What is this way? This is the way. So I don't care about the word hydroxide. I care about this one. And this is the one that I will start my salt name with. What about the second part? In the table, we said that if the acid used is hydrochloric acid, we are going to use the word chloride. This will be the name of the second part of your salt. Okay? Let's do it in red. Okay. So this means that the salt that you are going to use is called potassium chloride. What is the second? What will be the second product? The second product, of course, is water. Okay. Now I will leave you with the rest of the page. Please pause the video, try answer B, C, and D by yourself, and then come back to check your answers. All right, guys, so let's do B together, okay? So the reactant parts, no problem. You can write what is the reactants from their names, from the question. They're already written. What are the two reactants? Sulfuric acid sulfuric acid plus sodium hydroxide. This is the alkali that we're going to use. Sodium hydroxide. Okay. Then we are going to put an arrow. I already wrote the reactants. I want now to write the products. We know that the products are two things, the salt and water. Salt and water. Okay. Now, how will I know the name of the salt? Simply by going back and start with the alkali. I will cancel the word hydroxide. I care about the word sodium. And this will be the first part of my salt. Okay, what about the second part? What is the name of the acid? The name of the acid is sulfuric acid. So this means that the name that I'm going, or the second part of my salt will be sulfate. How did I know this? By memorizing the table that I just showed you in the previous slide. Okay, so this means that my salt will be called sodium sulfate. And what will be the second product with my salt? Water. All right, what about the next one? I want the reaction between nitric acid and potassium hydroxide. So this is easy. I'm just going to write the names, the reactants I already have, and they are written in my question. Nitric acid plus potassium hydroxide. Okay, then I will make an arrow. And I know that the products will be a salt and water. Now, what is the name of the salt? Let's use again the same method. Forget about the word hydroxide. So this means that the first part of my salt will start with potassium, and the second part, we will know it according to the name of the acid. What is the name of the acid? Nitric acid. What is the name of the acid? Nitric acid. Okay, so if it's nitric acid, so this means that the second part will be nitrate. How did I know? From the table. I memorized the table, and now I know that if the acid reacting is nitric acid, so the second part of my salt will be nitrate. So this means that my salt is called potassium nitrate. And what will be the other product? Water. Okay. What about, Miss, the last one? The last one, I tried to do it, but I couldn't. It's fine. We will be explaining it in the next week. I don't want to crowd your head with a lot of information today. So I'm going to just do this today. And the next time we will be learning more about the neutralization process, and we will be able to answer all the other questions. Okay? So you have a homework, and your homework will be page 39. Your homework will be page 39, and I will write it for you on Moodle and on Coursera. And I will be seeing you next week, guys. Until then, I hope you are all doing okay. All right, guys, be seeing you next week. Bye.